So let's look at making a track using Ableton Live Session View. So if you haven't already, do check part 1 on this playlist, because I explain a lot of the kind of concepts of what Session View is all about and why I would use it. So now we're going to look at a little bit more about how you do it, basically. So first of all, I'm going to use one of the packs that everybody has access to, and that is Packs Core Library. And in the Core Library, I'm going to use some MIDI clips and audio samples recordings. So the first concept you need to kind of get your head around is, once the transport is playing, this is the tempo. So if I click on here, 113 beats per minute. Now I'll turn the metronome off, but what that means is I'm going to leave it playing now and just show you what I mean. If I go into a sample and let's have a look, I'm going to use drums, and there's these like nice little full percussion top. Maybe we'll explore those later, but let's go to full. Now, if I click on this top one, it's going to be 80s beat, 90 BPM, but because we're already playing it, it's going to play at 113. So I'm going to move it to an extreme tempo now, just so you can see what I mean. So I've got it 145. So if I click on this one now, it's going to play this one, the top one, at 145 beats per minute. So I'll click on it. So that is 145 beats per minute. Now if I stop playing, so if I stop this from playing and click on it again, it will play at the original BPM because the transport isn't playing. So that's the original tempo. So just to recap, whatever this is playing here, if you press play and click on a sample, it will play the sample regardless of its BPM at that project tempo. So you might think, why would I want to do that? But this is the idea. When you sort of moving samples together, auditioning them, put them into your project, you want them all to play at the same tempo. Now, if you decide I want it a particular tempo, there's a great little technique as well, which is just over there, and it's called tap tempo. So if you know you've got a beat in your head or something like that, you want something to match a certain song, if you just go up here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll just basically, that's the tempo that I tapped at then. If I want to do something like drum and bass, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, that was like way faster. And it'll do that. You press play now. So whatever it is, I'm going to go around 113 because I just think that's kind of a good tempo for today. So 113 or thereabouts. Yeah, I'm going to go for it. 113, 114, something around that. 112, we'll go with that. So, oh, by the way, if you click on that, you can move the tempo up and down using your keyboard anyway. So I was just doing it with the mouse, but I'm going to go back to 113 now. I've actually marked a couple of samples here. I right mouse click and press blue, so it puts them to my collections, just so I know. Right, I like that one. You may have heard that before. So to keep things easy for now, if you just click on here, you can drag it, and wherever, it'll let you drop it pretty much anywhere. But for now, if you select an audio clip, which this is, drop it onto an audio track. I'll explain the differences later on. But if I double click here now, you can see I can resize. This is the detail view and the clip details. Lots of things to look at there. I'll go through them bit by bit. But basically, that is what we're looking at. If I press the triangle, it will launch that clip. Pull it down to -12. So you can see there, if you look over here, it's looped. So it's looped and it's now playing at 113 BPM. And if you click this one across here, the audio utilities, its original BPM was 115. But it doesn't matter because it's warped, which means it's looped and it will fit to the tempo that we've got in our project tempo. So don't worry too much about that, but if you want to know, there it is. So I'm playing that one now, and I'm just going to pick a couple of others. So if I just press play, that is playing at 113, and this one is 96, Dirty Neptune, referring to the Neptunes, I'm sure. And then this one. Now I chose this one for a reason, because it's got a little break and a fill. So if you look at this one, I'll double click. You can see there's a gap there. You may want that fill, you may not. So I'm going to look at that as well. So we've got some drum beats. Okay, so what it means is now if I play this one, okay. Right, I'm going to go with that one. So that's playing there. I can just turn it down, but now I can go into another section. I can either go in, we've got drums there, we've got some drums. Let's go tonal. Right, so I can audition some guitars against that. And here's one that I marked earlier, but just so you can see. So 113, and again, it'll play it. I'm using my cursor to go up and down there. I do like that one. Now that actually works with that. I'm just gonna bank that over there, and that one as well. So I chose those, and you will notice that it said C sharp minor, and the other one was F sharp. So they're the actual key or the note that they were playing. Now, for now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about this right now, but it is something, be aware of it. And I'll kind of sneak in little bits of music theory as we go on. But the fact that it gives you the note or E minor can help you when we try and fit them together in a bit. So that's what it's all about. So basically, I can audition this one, and then I'll move that out for you to see it. Drop this on the next bar. 2, 3, 4. I can switch to the other one. Try against the other beats. Okay, so I kind of like those two together. Now, if you remember from the last video, if I select this one and that one, these are clips that I'm launching in the track. And if I press the space bar, they're already sort of activated. In the other video, I called them like the circus performer spinning plates. So I always talk about that because it's kind of easy to visualize. But if I kind of press space bar now, stop it, it's just going to keep playing them from the beginning. So if I now want to say, okay, well, I want to trigger via a scene. Now these on the right hand side are scenes, and I'm going to insert a scene. You can either right mouse click insert or Command I or Control I on Windows. If I do that, I'm giving myself another blank space. Now if you're using Ableton Live Intro, you can have a maximum of 16. So I'll put 16 there, but just be kind of frugal with space. I'm just going to highlight those and delete them. So I'm creating these scenes. Now I'm going to sort of lay out a couple of ideas together, and then we'll look for some more samples kind of thing. So if I want this one, that and that to work together, click on an empty scene and it will put it underneath. So if I right mouse click, we're going to capture an insert scene, which is there, and it's going to take this one and that one and put them together on a new scene. So I might like that as an intro. So I'm going to right mouse click and give it a color. I'm not going to call it intro yet, but the green bit starts here or whatever you want to call it. So press play. So let's find something else. So we've got, these were audio samples. Now the next ones, if you go into MIDI clips, now MIDI and audio, I did describe the difference in the other video, but audio is basically double click and you can see it's a recording, a waveform, it's a sample. You can either record your own in with other instruments, or you can use sample packs. And these other ones, MIDI, if I just pick one, let's have a look. Let's go with a chord progression. Now, I did highlight one before that I tried. So if you just click one of these, now this, it gives you a preview there, but it isn't a sample. Is it that one? And the good thing about these is they actually are MIDI. So it's actually a musical instrument digital interface. In this case, it's a piano roll. So if I double click this one now, or I can drop it here, or if I just double click it, it will create a new channel. Okay. So either way, different ways to do it. But what it's done, it's not just dropped it on an empty one, it's created an actual instrument. So if I just highlight that there and I can play, it's an actual playable sound. I'm using a MIDI keyboard. But you can play it lots of different ways. But for now, let's just look at the actual clip itself. If I double click this one, you'll see now it isn't a sample, it's actual notes. So this one, you can edit it now. You can actually move things around and say, I don't want this one, I don't want that. So that's the next sort of stage, what we're going to do. We're going to edit these. But just to look at it, it says C minor. So I'm going to stop the guitar, play the funk break, and then play this, see if it fits. Very retro. Now I could speed it up a bit. So the beauty about this, you can change tempo at any time using this, you know, but I'll stick about that 113 area. I did kind of like it. Now this one is C minor, and if you look at the sample we used, it's a C sharp minor. So let's look at editing not only MIDI, but audio, just so we can make these samples fit together. The drums are not particularly in pitch as such, they're just kind of percussion. There are times where you might have a pitched kick drum and things like that, but for now we were just going to say this isn't in a key, it's drums. So that can stay as it is. Now this MIDI here, what I'm going to do straight away is, if you right mouse click, you can copy, duplicate, delete. One of my favorite shortcuts is Command D or Control D, which is to duplicate. Now this actually duplicates anything in Ableton Live that can be copied. So even the actual channel itself, if I press Command D, it'll duplicate that. If it's a clip, Command D, I can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bang, off you go. And what you can do is these clips, they can all be completely different with the content, the pitch, the timing. So what I'm going to do is, that's the original one, and I'm going to make that green. And you can make your own system. Usually green means the original for me, and then if I go yellow, it means I've changed it somehow. So I'm just going to delete those just so I don't get confused. I'm going to make this next one yellow. Right mouse click, boom, there you go. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete some of the chords, just too much going on. So I'm not going to use the second half. So if you press 0, 0 is deactivate. So in this case, if I select that and right mouse click, you might see somewhere deactivate notes, which is 0, deactivate notes. So 0 is a great way to kind of see what was there without deleting it. So I know that that space was there. Also, the same with clips as well. We may come across that. If you right mouse click, you can deactivate clip, which is a great way to kind of temporarily mute a clip. So it won't play, deactivates it, but it's there so you don't lose it. So you might just want to be playing launch a scene and sort of mute something temporarily. I'll do that on purpose shortly. But anyway, so this one now, it's just going to go. So what I'm going to do is move the loop completely. I can either drag this in, or I could have just gone, if I press Command Z, I could just get the area that I want up to there and press Command L or Control L and just loop it. So now it's only going to be a 1 bar, the length 1 bar. And even, so, you know, you can sort of carve away something, and you can see that I could duplicate that and put it back in again, which I will do. But this one now is first 2 beats of, or kind of the last 2. But really, you can kind of audition against the drums, that'll give you a better idea. See, it's kind of too late. So something like that. And then the other one was. Now the other thing with this as well, because it's MIDI, I don't particularly like the sound of it. But if you double click on top here, this is the actual channel. This was the sound. Now this is what we call a hot swap. If I click on this, it will give me the folder where that originally came from. So if I click on this one, I know Faceplant. It's kind of electronic piano, electric piano. I prefer that. You get the idea. I'm just going to go with that one just to show you. So now it's going to have a different sound, and these are kind of the controls or macros. You can add a bit of reverb on there, tweak around, have a little play with those. But now it's. So you can see what's happening now, and this was in C minor. Now, I'm not going to go into the keys too much, but this one is in C sharp minor. So if I double click on this, you can change the pitch in semitones. So if you don't know what semitones are, if I just go back into the other clip in there, and this is basically the piano roll, yeah, here. So if I can move that up a little bit. So that's C, and then that would be C sharp, and that's D, and so on. So semitones mean moving up one key at a time, or if you're a guitarist, one fret at a time, or violin or anything like that. So if you go C and then up one, so basically this one is one higher, or it's sharp. So I need to flatten it and bring it back down to C. So that's one semitone. I need to minus one semitone to this one to make it fit with that. Or move the house one up to that, but in this case, it's easier to go. Can you hear it sounds awful? No, it should, if I drop it one semitone, sound a bit better. So all I did there was move it from -1, well, it was on 0, which is, and I can move it up. So now your ears have probably adjusted to thinking, well, that sounds right now. If I bring this back in. Bit of reverb. So you get the idea. Now, we might want a bass as well. In fact, we need a bass. So I'm just going to stop the clip playing there, and let's try and find a bass. So I will use, go back to the packs, and we'll find a bass line. There you go. So this is MIDI clips again, and bass line. Now, like I was saying before, these are kind of building blocks. The ready-made clips, so the actual content inside is patterns made of MIDI, which obviously you can change, move around, and make fit to your clip. And it's easier to make MIDI fit by changing the pitch than it is a sample, really, because it doesn't change. It's not using samples, it's using an instrument, usually, to kind of get this. So if I try and find a bass, I did find one there, upright bass. So I'll click on this one against the break. So click on it. Remember, it's going to play. It was originally 108. It's now 113. Click on that. It's like an upright bass. Just while we're here, actually, it's quite quiet that way it is on my end. So this here on the right is your cue out. So you're auditioning. So if you're like from a DJ background, it's kind of so you can preview the track before it goes out to the main mix. In this case, it's your preview samples. So if I just turn that up now, this should be a bit louder when I click on it. So it's kind of, some of the notes are okay. I don't like the pattern, but the sound's okay. So if I just pick this up and drop it here, doesn't matter anywhere. If I double click now, you can see we'll press play, which will also play that one. I'm just going to make a 2-bar pattern, so you know how to do that now. Just bring that there. And I don't really want it to do, it's called a walking bass. I don't want it to walk as much. I want it to sort of just stay around the simple notes so we can just go for more of a groove kind of thing. So what I'm going to do here is just like move this down to C. Now, if you keep this button pressed, the MIDI preview, when I move, it's like you're playing it across the keyboard basically. But so now I just want it to go, and then we'll use this is another example of when it's good to use 0 or deactivate, or kind of mute the note. So I'm kind of so again, you can kind of work out, oh, well, that'd be good if it repeated again or something. So I can either press Alt or Option, and I can copy a note and drag it across. See if that works. Try anything. So I've moved that. Let's see what it sounds like with the guitar. Let's get all those three playing together. So I'll go here, Shift Command I, or right mouse click, capture and insert scene. Boom. So now I've made a new scene with the bass and those. So I'm just going to give it another color, maybe call it Groove 2 or something. You know, right mouse click, Groove 2. I mean, whatever. It's just whatever you want to call it. So, but now basically I've got drums, guitar, and bass, and I can pick these channels up and just reorganize them so it kind of looks like I'm not all over the place. And you got bass. This one's actually named after that sample there, but I'll just call it guitar. Just for now. Oh, I can't even spell, but you get the idea. Do let me off. Okay, so press space bar. Now, I'm not going to go into mega detail, but that guitar is playing all the time, and you may want it to not play all the time. So I'm just going to Command D and duplicate it. Use my yellow method. So I know this one's going to be different. If I press play here. So it pretty much plays the same over and over again. There's a slight difference at the end, but just for this sake, I'm going to pick 2 bars. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically like cut into the sample. Now this is kind of a little bit more advanced, but I want to show you that it's possible so you don't think, how do I do this? I mean, first of all, I could just loop the very beginning. So it's an alternative pattern. So by doing that, remember that once you've got a sample, it's what you call non-destructive. You've got this one sample and you can copy it as many times as you want, and you can change the pitch, you can change you know, the organization of it, all of these things you can move here, like how long it lasts, where it loops, all that kind of thing. So I'll play the bass and the drums, and what I'll do is I'll move this and see what happens when I just move it around. Lots of happy accidents there. You know, if you're a fan of the Prodigy and Chemical Brothers and things like that, this is kind of how sample music was made, by kind of getting bits from records and just triggering it at a certain point. Let's hip hop, drum and bass, all these kind of things. But for now, if I do that, so I could just go. So if I was to do that, maybe I could go. And then just drop onto this one and go. You know, you can kind of make little variations. So if I Command D again, and this time we'll make it orange. I mean, it doesn't matter really, but I know that I've made a variation. But what I'm going to do this time, it's a little bit more complicated. So I'm just going to do it on 1 bar. And you see here, sample and envelopes or envelopes. Now, what I'm going to do is basically punch some holes in it. And it can be quite complicated, this, but I'm going to show just an easy way. So if you follow these steps, you won't mess up. So there's the sample, which allows you to do all these things here. But if I click envelope, everything reduces. It's like, whoa, what's all this? But what I'm going to do, this is the main thing. You can use these envelopes to automate, change over time, modulate anything that's happening in the sample. Now, in this case, I'm going to go mixer would mean the track volume and the reverb and all of these controls here. But what I want you to do is just go on here and clip. So you remember before when I said that each clip can have its own properties. It's non-destructive. You can mess around. So this is only going to do this to this one clip because I selected clip, and then I'm going to put transposition is moving the pitch, but I want it to be gain. Now gain is like volume, how much is coming through. So it's this here, the gain, but you can see it visually. Now I put clip gain, and this is a blue line here. If I grab that blue line, now if I just bring it down halfway, literally 50%, I could guess that, wasn't it? And then press play on this orange one. Go to check on the orange one. It's quiet, yeah? If I move it up again, now it's going up and down kind of thing. And you can see it's represented there on the gain there. But that's not what I want to do. So if I right mouse click and clear the envelope, it takes me back. Now what I want to do is punch some holes in it so that it goes about here. I don't want it to play at all. So let's just try that. Select that bit and then just drag it down. So now I've basically said play here, don't play here. Dead easy, yeah? And then this one. So what I could do, extend it to 2 bars and then do similar kind of thing. So select this bit here, do that, and then bring that down so you can see. So basically you can carve away sound. People don't really do this enough when I see in Ableton Live, because it's just kind of, you can't pick up and change it and re-edit the sample in Session View. You'd have to do that on this screen if you want to like rearrange it. But there's lots of ways of doing that. I'll show you that in another video as well. But this is kind of the idea. So I've got this bit, and then, and I'm guessing you're all mind readers and you've gone, yeah, you could bring that last bit in at the end. So it's kind of like thinking like a DJ. You're cross-fading. You're going all the way up with the fader, bringing it down. And you sort of, that's how a lot of music we listen to is created. So what I'm going to do, now this time, if you press B, which is a pencil tool, you see it appeared there. If you press B on your keyboard and it isn't showing that, first of all, make sure that you're in an area, like when it says envelopes, for example, where it actually allows you to draw something. If you go and sample and press it, nothing happens. You can see up the top there, that is activate pencil tool, draw mode switch. Okay, so that's it. And if I come back down here, press B, nothing's happening until I go to envelopes. So what I'm going to do is down, gap, down, and then at the end, the da-da-down. So I'm going to get the pencil tool, and then that, you can kind of draw freehand. You can hold command and do it like this, or hold control. Or if you hold just like that, it'll just kind of snap to the grid. It's 16ths or 30 seconds at the minute. But I just want it to go like around there somewhere. So let's try it. So you can go really tight there. I go full on. I might even go a little bit before. Get the idea? So then I could rename these cut, first beat, anything like that. So you can start to, so I know it looped the first beat. You could also pick this up. You know, you can have some fun doing that. And you can just insert them. If you press Command I or Control I, can insert a blank scene, and then, you know, Command D, duplicate, and just kind of do that. Again, you know, I was saying choose different colors, but do whatever you feel best. Did I just stomp over that there? I did something wrong. So if I press Command Z, there you go. I copied over it. But if I just Command D, change the color, it can look quite complicated, but it's just a way to get ideas quickly and kind of carve out sample material, make the most of, you know, just one sample. I'll look at the sort of beats as well. If I just go over here, like say, for example, we mainly use this one, the break funk chop. So I'm going to solo this and just look at this. So, I mean, this is kind of really rough, but if I were to duplicate this one, I'm just going to move it out of the way and then make it yellow. And then what I could do is, so if I wanted to make like a 4 on the floor sort of beat, which is going to be a bit rough, but if I go like this, and I've just looped one beat. So if you go there and you go 1, 2, 3, 4. If I go like this, it's just kind of like a 4 on the floor sort of thing. So just call it 4. And then you go. So the same kind of thing I was doing with the guitar. You can sort of edit things, and it can be really simple things just like that, just looping it down, or it can be more complicated, just drawing bits out, punching holes in it, or fading things up. We can go into that another time because it's quite deep there. After watching these first 2 videos, you should be able to confidently go through, look at clips, MIDI and audio, and start to build something, you know, get some ideas. Now, I did say it on the previous video. I'll show you this in settings. Now, if I press stop, it takes it back to the beginning of the arrangement. So if I press play now, it starts to move from the beginning, and that's where we want to be. So you need to make sure that your transport is set to 1.1.1. So what I'm going to show you now is you can have it set so when you hit record, if you know for sure that you're working from Session View, if you go to preferences, which is Command comma or Control comma. So when you're in here, we're going to go to record, warp and launch. Now you've got here start transport with record. Now if I turn that off, what it's going to do when I hit record up here, it's now waiting for me to launch a clip. If I wanted to start with just this guitar, so watch what happens. I'm just going to build up a basic arrangement. So it's going to go, and I'm just going to keep adding. So everything I move, touch and adjust will be recorded. So what I'm going to do here, I want to drop to one of these cuts. So I'm going to pick this yellow one, put it down here, and then I know if I click this, it's just going to go to. And let's bring these in as well. Too much reverb, so I'm going to move that reverb off there. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how to get something from here. I mean, you can, like I said, you can label them, you can do all kinds of things. There's still lots I could show you, but if you want to get a piece of music finished, then you've got to get it over here, and then you've got to highlight it, like this, and then press Command L or go up to your loop up there, and then you can export it. If I press Command A, it selects everything, then Command L, it'll just jump to there. And then at this point here, you would export it. So File, Export, and that's how you get it out. Encode it as an MP3 or a WAV, but just do it as an MP3. Press Export, and that'll be it. Off you go. You can say where you're going to put it. Hopefully you find that helpful. This is kind of a video series. I'm just going to kind of increase complexity on a sort of more natural way and sort of keep it so it's easy to understand. If you've got any questions, there's a form just below here. It's on my website, and you can just ask me questions and I'll make sure I see that, or put comments below. Please do subscribe to the channel. If you got this far, you must have been watching it. So subscribe and you'll find out what's coming next. I'm going to keep adding things to this playlist, as well as other things as well, like quick tips, things on move and push, that kind of thing. So thanks for watching.